2023. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Remain standing for the invocation.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could we please bow our heads? Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us together tonight. We ask that you watch over all our troops and their families and loved ones in this troubled time. We ask that you guide this council to make the right decisions for this city. In this we pray, amen. Amen.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Parker.
Present.
Marquez.
Present.
Martinez.
Present.
Mayor Panadilla.
Present. Number 5, declaration of conflicts of interest. Number 6, ceremonial matters.
None tonight.
None?
None.
Okay. Item 7, communication from staff. No communication?
I don't believe we have any at this time.
Okay. Item 8, items from the public, non-agenda items. While the City Council welcomes and encourages participation in the meetings, it would be appreciated if you would limit your comments to 3 minutes so that everyone may be heard. Matters under the jurisdiction of the Council and not of the posted agenda may be addressed by general public at this time. However, California law prohibits the Council from taking action on any matter which is not on the posted agenda unless it is determined to be an emergency by the City Council. Is there any non-agenda items this evening? Okay, items from the public agenda items. Any member of the audience desiring to address the council on a matter on the agenda, please raise your hand or step to the podium at the time the item is announced by the mayor in order that all interested parties have an opportunity to speak. Any person addressing the council will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes unless the mayor grants a longer period of time. At that time, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Item 9, public hearings. Introduce Ordinance Amendment 2003-3, an ordinance amending Newman, amending Ordinance number 82-3, changing the methodology of calculating costs for installation of water meters to an actual cost basis. Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. As you indicated, this would amend ordinance number 82-3. Back in 1982, they did establish a fixed rate for installation of water meters. Since that time, the cost of said meters has escalated as have the hourly rates and materials being used to install those meters. What we are requesting is this ordinance amendment to allow us to recuperate all actual costs to install the water meter as we install those for the developers. And what this does is this affects all new housing developments. So what we're doing once again is reimbursing ourselves for the actual costs there. It allows us, upon second reading, or if the council chooses to approve this ordinance amendment, we will come back to you with a resolution setting that cost.
This is a public hearing item. I'll open the public hearing at this time. Would anybody like to comment on this matter? Are you commenting, Mike, or just moving? We'll close the public hearing and ask for direction.
Just one, just for clarification, on the plus the 15%, that's the administrative surcharge that we've said that.
That's correct, and that's a generally accepted accounting principle for cost.
Any other questions for Mike? Thank you, Mike. Direction?
I'll just make one comment, Mr. Mayor. I was absent during the time that this came before us with our financial director, and I think it's a lot of forethought because if you're well aware, particularly since we get the information from CCID, there's been talk of water being diverted, particularly from Northern California to Southern California and the Colorado River. So water is very significant in our area, and you got to pay your cost to use it. So without further ado, I would introduce Ordinance Amendment 0303, amending Ordinance number 82-3, changing the methodology and calculating costs for installation of water meters in an actual cost basis.
We have a second?
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Item 10, consent calendar, approval of warrants. Approval of minutes of the March 11, 2003 regular meeting. Adopt resolution number 2003, next in number, authorizing the mayor to execute subdivision agreement with Woodside Lucas Ranch and adopting final map, Lucas Ranch 2, Unit 2. Adopt resolution number 2003, next in number, authorizing the mayor to execute subdivision improvement agreement with Woodside Lucas Ranch and adopting final map, number 01-01, Lucas Ranch 3. Questions on the consent calendar or direction?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I would pull consent calendar item number C to address this Lucas Ranch 2, Unit 2 map that we were giving at the beginning of the meeting. Otherwise, I move to approve the consent calendar.
Okay, you're pulling item C.
Second.
All in favor? Approving.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
What you have before you today is, on item C, is a final map, which was coming off of vesting tentative map 99-03. The staff has found it in substantial compliance with the vesting tentative track map. It has been plan checked by the city engineer. There's also a subdivision improvement agreement that the mayor will execute. Bonds are in place. The city is holding those bonds in place at this time to execute said agreement.
And I would just make my colleagues aware, I was able to meet with our city manager and city planner this evening to inquire about page 2, if you look at that map that was passed out. And this is something that came to council in previous session, where it speaks of the strip of land along Inyo that is still currently zoned as industrial. If you recall, we, at that time, rescinded an order for Woodside Homes to put up a wall there. You probably remember that discussion. I just wanted to bring that to light, and if the city manager could shed light on that information that he shared with me to my colleagues regarding the wall in specific.
As the council will remember, at that time there was a question of between putting up a brick or a masonry sound wall as opposed to a wood fence. The Woodside Homes requested that a wood fence be put up pending a decision on the rezoning of the industrial land located along Inyo Avenue, which was a question at the time. The council approved the agreement, which stated they could put the temporary fence, which would be a normal residential wood fence in, pending approval of the council, either saying, yes, we will rezone it, or no, we will not rezone it, at which time the fence would have to be removed and the solid wall put up. The agreement stated that they had either 2 years or the decision being made by council, that whichever came earlier, to either put up the wall or not put it up, okay, depending on what happened there. There was to be a bond in place also. That particular agreement was sent back to Woodside Homes on some suggested changes between myself and I believe the city attorney that we looked at, and at that time it was sent back to them, and they have not submitted the agreement back to us, is my recollection, and therefore that agreement has not been executed. Now the issue is, if they proceed forward with their improvement plans, unless they sign that agreement to go through with it, we will require them to put up the sound wall, because that's what the current improvement plans show, unless they sign that agreement. Now, my position is now that since it's been 6 months has gone by since the council approved that, and I'll ask the city attorney, but I think that I would probably recommend that that agreement be brought back to you again, since it's been so long, for further consideration by council. So that's the status of the agreement. That's the status of that whole issue right now.
Have we been in contact with them? It seems a little unbelievable that it's taken 6 months just to get a piece of paper back.
Well, the issue is that this is totally for the benefit of Woodside Homes.
Right.
So we sent it back to them, and it's incumbent on them. We haven't pushed it because it's not an issue
Right,
for us.
exactly.
So,
exactly.
I mean, we're constantly in contact with them as far as the improvements. Now, I believe that possibly one of the issues may have been that they were not to that point, since this wall does not come until phase 2, which is being approved tonight. In order for them to pass that agreement 6 months ago, they would have needed to put up the bond at that time, which is a cost to them. So they may have been delaying to actually sign the agreement and get it in place, hoping that perhaps council took action on the Inyo Avenue property, or waiting until now, thinking they can sign the agreement now and post the bond, then they've saved that money of having that bond in place for the last 6 months. That's just speculation on my part. I have not confirmed that with them.
Why this was so important, I wanted to be brought out, is because now they're asking for this final approval, which I don't see any problem with giving, but that is a contingency that we made in particular to the wall, and whether or not that area of land off of Inyo that borders Canal will be amended to industrial or residential rather than industrial. So it's an important point. Thank you.
Well, I remember the discussion several months ago. What is our time frame on that anyway, on that piece?
On that, that Inyo piece, as far as the conversion, they have submitted their application and map, and it is being prepared. Michael could probably comment on that more, but it's being
Staff
prepared
is
now.
processing it as we speak, and then we'll make the formal recommendation and meet with the developer shortly.
And then just one last comment before I move for approval. One of the reasons why I brought this up also is because of what we've been contending with our industrial zone area, particular with what we've been dealing with the Merced County line and our border of Stanislaus County. And something that's been brought up before in these council meetings is the erosion of zoned industrial area according to our general plan. And those plans were put in place and things have changed over time, but it's something that I think this council has to take a real hard look at before we start making continual adaptive changes without protecting the industrial zone area.
I agree, and like Mike said, the plans have just been submitted, so everything's on review. We have not made any changes to that yet, so.
Well, with no further discussion, I move that we approve consent calendar item C.
We have a second?
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. 11, regular business. Item A, approve downtown plaza plan and authorize RRM Design Group to proceed with refining the plan and preparing cost, funding, and phasing options. We have with us this evening John, I can't remember,
Wilbanks.
John
From
Wilbanks
RRM, yes.
will, from RM, make a little presentation.
Everyone see this?
Yes, I'm fine, thank you.
All right. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, John Wilbanks with RM Design Group. We have been working with the Downtown Streetscape Committee, I think is their official title from the past, but on the plaza property. And just to orient you as to what you're looking at to start with, this is Main Street here and Fresno here and Highway 33 here. And the plaza property, currently this is the paved parking area right across from the theater. Theater sits right here. This is the alley that runs through the block, and then this is the dirt lot that's out on the backside and fronts on 33. And this is the corner where John's Muffler business used to be, the building sitting there. The dentist office is in here, and that's a little bit of an outtake there. St. George Hotel, Stevenson Realty, and the bank over here, and there's a little open area in between those buildings. And our charge was to come up with a plaza concept utilizing the property that the city owns, which is all the property you're seeing here basically highlighted. We started working with the committee initially with just simply going through a brainstorming process. We've had about 3 meetings with them, and generating a list of things, concerns for the plaza, a list of the types of amenities that they'd like to see in the plaza. And once we generated that list, we then came back with some concepts for their consideration. And one of the things that we realized early on as a result of that list that was generated is a significant priority for the plaza, or for this utilization of this property, really was additional parking, maintaining the parking that's there and also trying to get some additional parking. And so we came back with 2 options for the plaza that pretty much indicated that to get the parking that the committee wanted to see, which was about 20 more spaces than there is there today. There's about 45 there today. And so the kind of the projected goal was to get at least 20 more. And we basically had a couple of configurations that were really glorified parking lots. And so we went with a general direction on that and took it back and tried to do as much as we could to get a little more of what would be considered more of a pedestrian plaza and still maintain that parking feel. And that's what this alternative represents. This is what the committee wanted us to bring to the council. And it is not by any stretch at a point of final design. This is primarily a interim meeting with the council to make sure there's general concurrence on the configuration. And the next step would then be to begin to develop a lot more of the details of how the plaza portion of the property itself would be utilized. And I think some of the significant things about the plan here is if you look at the alley, what we've done is taken advantage of the fact that this is all city-owned property. And going back to the revitalization plan that was done for the downtown in '95, the concept was to open up this area of frontage along 33 and through to Main Street so that there would be a window of interest created that would draw the public off of 33 and not just drive by, but kind of open up their awareness to the fact of there's a lot of great things happening down here on Main Street, as well as create an opportunity for gathering and the congregating of people and events and that sort of thing. So this plan does still reflect that. And if we take this corner out here, we're showing basically a plaza element that would be defined with landscape and hardscape and a little gateway feature that would then follow along this pedestrian colonnade or corridor and then tie into a central area here connecting up ultimately to Main Street. As I started to point out, the significant thing about this is that the plaza element, the pedestrian zone, is extended across the alley so that we have day-to-day circulation would be, if you came in the alley this way, you would either turn and go toward 33 or out toward Main. These are two-way parking bays in all these locations. And you have the opportunity for exit onto 33 or looping through the parking. And this is one area where the parking would cross the pedestrian corridor and then allow for access out on the other side. We also picked up additional parking off of Fresno in this location. And so we're looking at the opportunity in here, though, to treat the plaza improvements, the pedestrian zone improvements, in a way that in the event there was ever any emergency where, say, a fire truck had to just really get through here, they would be able to just go up and over and on through. It isn't going to be something that would be a complete barricade to the alley. It would just be the desire would be to prohibit through traffic on a daily basis and force the movement through the parking lot. And so we're looking, some of the other things that the committee is interested in seeing happen in the plaza is right here is where we're proposing that the city Christmas tree be planted. And this would really become kind of the little Christmas tree plaza area and centered on Main Street. Just in the streetscape area right here would be the new clock element for the downtown. And then in this area, there's discussion of developing, creating a central focal point with a water feature that would be both a landmark type water feature as well as an interactive, so that it would become somewhat of a place where people could sit around, congregate, kids could kind of play in the water. And when we come back to the council, we'll have some photographs of what those types of fountains look like and water elements look like. But the main thing this evening would be to get concurrence on the two-way circulation through the property, the concept of being able to capitalize on the land that the alley currently occupies, and be able to move forward with a little more detail. I guess I should also point out with the St. George Hotel, the plaza being adjacent this side of the property affords the opportunity for these uses in here to do something at their on their time frame and expense that would complement the plaza element. So there's the adjacency there is important from that standpoint. We are talking about, as a part of the master plan for the plaza, taking advantage of the wall on these buildings here, and even this one here if it remains, for murals and public art opportunities. There's some discussion about moving some other historic monument features into the plaza area, and we'll work out some of those details. So with that, I'll well, I should point out one other thing. This is basically an option that the committee wanted us to include in the master plan for the plaza. This is an enlargement of this corner with an option to allow a retail type structure to be located on the corner that would have a nice orientation to the corner, much like the historic use of the site with, I think it was the Rusk, is that it?
Russ
Yeah,
House.
the
Russ
Russ
House.
House. And then, but still maintain that open corridor through the center, which would still align here and not affect the rest of the plaza. And the idea here was this is something the city is likely not going to do, but the committee wanted the opportunity in the master plan to show that there's that option and have some guidelines as to how that should happen if in fact there was interest on the part of a private party to come in and work with the city in that, with that opportunity. The plan does yield a total of 66 parking spaces, so there's an improvement there of 21 spaces over what is there today. And really, it does a nice job opening up some of the circulation. So I'll entertain any questions and look for council direction on whether we can move forward on this configuration.
I like it, John. I think it, as we talked about that meeting, it gives us a lot more parking spots and kind of different areas and trees. Any questions or comments for John?
No, I think it's great. I like the way it looks, and I think you've utilized the land to the best of its ability, and it looks like a good plan to me. I like the plaza area, and I'd be interested in to see what type of water activities you would see in that area, because I know there's some real nice ones that would fit in, what really would fit in with this program.
I was thinking of a fountain maybe people would flip their silver coins in,
Yeah.
and then the city could collect.
There you go.
Just to comment briefly, you see where my line of thinking is. The alleyway, and you spoke of emergency vehicles being able to have a thoroughfare. Would that be some type of median where I would imagine it be posted by authorized vehicles only, or would it be? I'm not really clear on that one aspect of the.
The intent would be that it is still a raised curb
Mhm.
configuration,
So it'd be a
but there would
small
be no vertical barricades that would prevent a fire truck from just jumping it.
going over
And
the top of it.
this surface would be kept free of any other vertical obstructions like bollards or benches or anything like that, and would be treated with a surface that could take
To
that
withstand the weight.
type of abuse if it were to occur.
Okay.
Yeah, ideally, they wouldn't do that, but we just wanted to show that that thought was discussed at the committee level. And
We've had emergencies there quite recently, actually, where there was a building on fire down there that we've dealt
right,
with.
so it's important to allow for that.
The only other comment I'll make is the fact that I would like to commend the committee, certainly, for working with RRM Design, because I like the fact that they have that option there for where John's Muffler's corner is. Yeah, that option there. We've talked about public-private entertaining that idea, and I just like to see the options as well. Something I think we can move forward on.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, we've certainly worked with you all in the past. I as well, on the retail part of it, we all know that it's going to be a pretty expensive project to complete. And to have that corner, to have some retail on that corner, or at least have that option open, and like Tim here says, you know, as far as fostering some type of public-private partnership on that would be really good. If, you know, that's a pretty busy corner, that entire area will look a lot nicer, and to have, you know, some retail there, so maybe we can recoup some of our money, and being able to generate some sales tax and some property tax is something that we certainly need to look at. And otherwise, it's a good plan.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, John.
We'll move forward.
Mayor, if I could make just a couple of comments on this, let the council know. There's two issues that will be coming back to you possibly in the near future. One of those, John, if you could just point out on that plan, there's a place for a information center, visitor center proposed at that location. As the council knows, there has been an offer by Yancey Lumber. As I understand, we don't have anything in writing yet, as I understand, but verbally, as they look at constructing their new facility, donating their current, I guess, hardware store office to the city that is considered a historical building, it's been there a long time, as possibly a building that might be used as a visitor center of some type. That if he continues to move forward as he is currently planned, that issue may come before you quickly, because he's going to have, for his current plans would show that building having to be removed prior to him constructing his new building. And therefore, if it is something that the city decides to do, we would probably have to either look at trying to find a way to put it on that site, or locating it somewhere to store until the time comes that we can put it on that site. That's one issue. The second issue that we will, that I'm working on, and we'll probably be back to again, there was some discussion by the committee at the meeting to recommend to the council that perhaps rather than trying to lease out John's Muffler now, that we consider tearing that down at this time. And that was just from some of the committee members. There was no formal action or anything taken, but that issue was brought back. So we're going to bring back, as you know, we hope to be able to find a possible leasee for that property. We'll bring that back to you, and at the same time talk about that issue at that time, and what you may want to do. In order for that building from Yancey Lumber to go on the spot where it is proposed, where the visitor center is proposed, the John's Muffler Shop would have to come down because it encroaches on that. Isn't that correct, John? That it's so close that it would almost, you'd have to take that down. Those are just some things, information. We don't need to discuss it tonight, but I wanted to give you that information and allow you to start thinking about it, because it will probably come back to you in the near future as an action item for you to take action on.
Cleve, the timeline on the Yancey building is worse, fast track, 2 months. If everything went according to plan, make a decision, or?
Michael, do you know, are we that close?
They'll be at the planning commission next month in April.
So it could happen in 2 months.
It could begin fairly quickly, yeah.
Okay.
So,
I would say that I like what I'm hearing. I wasn't privy to that information. Maybe that was something that just was floating around in the air. I suppose this proposal came forth from Mr. Kern Honeywell over at Yancey Lumber.
yeah, and he hasn't talked directly to
It's
staff.
not something
It's
that's
come
actual
It's come to
formal.
staff through someone else, so no, it's not a formal offer at this point, but I understand that he is fairly serious about it, so. Just for your information, so.
Very good.
Thank you, Cleve. Direction?
Sure, I move that we approve the Downtown Plaza Plan and authorize RRM Design Group to proceed with refining the plan and preparing costs, funding, particularly the funding aspect, and phasing options.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Item B, recommend the posting of established truck routes for L and M streets between Merced and NU streets, and Stanislaus Street between L and M streets. Chief?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. As you know from the March meeting, you directed staff to look into what's currently available for truck parking and come up with some alternatives for additional parking. And if I can get my map, I'm more of a visual person. I can kind of show you why we're limited on the parking that we currently have. So let me, if everything works right. Currently, there's two things that make a truck route. One is it has to be codified in the books by a resolution by the City Council, and secondly, it has to be posted. And we have in the dark blue the ones that meet both those standards. This is Merced Street. Then we have Highway 33. This is YOLO, and then we also have Inyo, and then the L Street extension. So these are ones that we currently have on the place. And that's the, in addition to this, where trucks can park not only on a truck route, but also they can only park in industrial, manufacturing, and C2. So that also just starts out limiting where they can park. Because you're also looking at here is the only industrial portion that we have on Merced Street is right in front of the PG&E building. And that actually accommodates about 4 to 5 trucks. Is that about right? Yeah. Okay. Because also another limitation that we have by ordinance is they can't park within 100 feet from an intersection, so that eliminates even limits this portion even down further, and that's for visual obstructions caused by just the height and width of these vehicles. So you just have this little portion in here. Now you come down here into the manufacturing area, and we have problems here with, part of it is you have some driveway approaches, you have a bike path, and then you also have the railroad tracks. You can't park within 100 feet of the railroad tracks. So that also limits this down here and actually eliminates most of this, because you have a driveway approach here for which takes in a lot of traffic, which is the Bashir's property. So that limits it over here. And then on this side over here, you have parking, and also you have some businesses that are on the other side of the street over here. So in this manufacturing area. So that pretty much eliminates most of the parking, all except for this little area here. Now, as you come on to Highway 33, this whole section here is pretty much just taken out, although we do have mellow trucking up in here for parking on the street, due to by an ordinance that actually says that we have every 20 feet, and then every 40 feet, there's going to be an 8-foot red zone. So that actually just eliminates all this parking from all the way up here from Yolo all the way down to Merced Street. Then as you come further down south on Highway 33, you have this little portion over here, which is right by Delta Spice, or the old Aprino plant. And they have that little portion there which can accommodate about 2 trucks. Problem with this area here is it actually has a slope to it, so we've actually had some truckers complaining that if they were fully loaded, that also could, that canting or that sloping could cause their truck to, although we haven't had one fall over there, that's a concern. So it would be if I was driving that truck. And on the opposing side over here, where the scale is, there's a no parking sign. So that eliminates that whole side over there. Then we're moving on down here. We have the water mill, and then on this side we have the Yancey lumber, and that poses a couple of problems. You can park a couple of trucks right in here, but then they also have landscaping and a ditch that kind of runs along here that also kind of slopes that area the further they get off onto the shoulder. And then you're moving a little bit further down. This is more where the storage unit is, and again they've actually put in more landscaping, and there is that ditch continues on. So you can park there, but it's kind of limited. Then you move on down to, this is right here where the shopping center is. And so what we're looking at here is you can park in front of the shopping center. The opposing side there's a ditch. We've had one truck that actually did fall over, lose its load about 4 or 5 years ago, right here on that would be on the east side of that. So although there's a shoulder there, it's not advisable to actually park there. So really that pretty much has what we currently have. We have other truck routes that are on the books, and one of them is Upper Road Southerly going out. We have this is Stanislaus, and then from Merced to Inyo right in here is also a truck route that's on the books, but it's not posted. We have actually up here at Kern and M Street all the way down to Inyo. Again, this is has a couple of problems. One is it's on the books, but it's not posted. We also had a problem that we discussed last time regarding last council meeting. The way this intersection is constructed with the striping and such, it's too narrow to either make a left-hand turn or a right-hand turn onto that. In fact, Damari Brothers has actually put an additional gate there so they can actually get their trucks onto that road without having this problem here to get to some of their back lot. So that pretty much eliminates. Plus, we also have an area 2 here. It's not really conducive to truck parking. Is the residential that's in that area over there. So what I'm looking at in the yellow now is what I'm proposing that we look at. These are truck routes that are currently on the books that I would like to see us entertain as an actual option at this point. Would be M Street from Merced to Inyo. Stanislaus here. Stanislaus, as it comes over this way, is not really a road anymore. I think it's more of it's kind of a dirt embankment. But over here, the road is not very good still, but it's scheduled to be redone. So I think it would for parking, I think it would be ample. And also L Street. Another nice portion of the street here is right here alongside F&A, the cheese plant over here. They've redone this part of this road over here. It's fenced and it's nice. It could also work. Another portion I did not put on my report, but I would like to have the council entertain, was here on Inyo. if you actually look at making these truck routes, that would actually make an opportunity for people to be able to make a turn, either coming in this way to get on to Inyo or leaving Inyo, and have Inyo on the that would be on the north side of Inyo, right by the flange. It's from curb to curb, it's 49 feet. Even up in here, it's 53 feet. So there's ample space for trucks to be able to park. Plus, that would open up about 3 other stalls, and this would only be on the north side, and then there'd be another one on a little bit further down on the other side of M Street there before you reach the railroad tracks. You could probably park 1 truck in there with a trailer. I'm looking at having the council entertain the point of maybe making this no truck parking on the south side. And there's a problem there. One is you have the railroad tracks, then you have Veggie Cool, which actually has large equipment that comes in and out onto that roadway. And with the truck being parked here, that would force the truck to come out blindly and might cause an accident at that point. Then we have some homes that are in this area too, so there's driveway approaches and those things, obstacles that would come into play. So I would look to have this right here, but there would be one other spot that would be open, and that would possibly might be on the other side of the F&A cheese. So I would be looking for the council to at least recommending that we post this no truck parking on the south side, but open it up on the other side. If you entertain the notion of making these truck routes, so that would make an ingress and degress out of that area possible, without them forcing them into being off truck route. And I think I will open up for any kind of questions you may have.
As far as L Street, Mike,
Yes.
eventually when it's extended,
Yes,
that could be, right now they can't go down there because there's nowhere to turn around, right? Industrial area where
that's
the road
correct.
ends.
That's the one thing I should have pointed out. Currently, that's not an option at this point.
Right.
But we are looking at that if money doesn't prohibit us making that a bulb out, so they can make a turnaround down there, and that would open up a lot of additional parking. Well, this in here, I'm anticipating you could probably park about another 15 to 20 trucks in this area here. That might be like wall-to-wall truck.
Mhm.
Another alternative that I have not mentioned is using the private sector in this. And there's an individual that owns the West Side Scale, who's entertaining the idea of actually having off-street parking on his property. He is in the manufacturing zone over here, and that would be off-street parking, and that would be at a fee, whatever the vendor would
That
deem
faces Highway
appropriate.
33 though.
Actually, he has property in this on M Street here. You could, I guess, see some of those trucks because it'd be parked. He has the Golden Irrigation District portion up here, and then he has another building that's right here right in this area. And I think he's looking at parking trucks in this area over here.
So is it on the east side of the track or
It
the
would-
west side of the track?
It would be on the
East side of the
East
track.
side.
east side of the track.
Between Stanislaus, right there in the corner.
Right.
Okay.
South of Stanislaus.
Right. He also has trucks that are parked actually in the back portion over here. I guess it'd be on this side of Highway 33 in the back portion of his lot currently. He has some that are already renting space. And I would make this part of my brochure that I currently pass out. Any changes that the council makes tonight, and also I would put the number for the vendor on here so they could contact them if they choose to look at parking off street.
Questions for Mike?
I think I will just interject. I was absent during the last meeting, however, I did get to catch some of the comments. Plus, I've been aware of this issue since serving on the Planning Commission.
Mhm.
And it's come about, like you said, since '97. I think you referred to that also, Charles.
Mhm.
I'm a little leery of going beyond the extension of what you've highlighted there in the yellow. And my reasoning for that is I understand that we want to eliminate pretty much between Driscoll and Merced that parking on M Street along the storage areas, because that is an area that does have some residential and with some of the mobile homes that are in that area. And I think that's what brought this about. I think we're being quite accommodating by this other yellow area. How much truck parking are you projecting that this will make just in the highlighted area?
I'm
that
thinking
you're
we could probably,
suggesting?
if not wall-to-wall truck, but I'm thinking we would be able to open up on this here, because there are some obstacles even in here with some driveways and things, but I think we could accommodate at least 15 trucks, I would believe.
Which is quite a few. I mean,
That's
I drive
quite a
around
few.
looking, and I know that they've parked on Hills Ferry for years, and they used to use just by Canal School Road, that was a dirt area they no longer use because it's been improved to an
Right.
extent.
And then when this gets built out, and I'm projecting 2 years, but that's my best guess, for the bulb out on the L Street extension in the industrial park, that would also open up a lot of parking, and that road it's a very good road, very well lit.
Well, I would suggest going along with the chief's proposal with the highlighted area, and in particular, those dark areas are the areas where they can park as well. That is a better accommodation than what we currently have. I'm suggesting that we don't go anything beyond that, so that we could possibly not have the addition. We're trying to accommodate truckers, I'm understanding, that live in the city of Newman, although this may be for outside truckers as well. And so if that is the point, at this time, because the rest of that area is not improved, I would suggest that we follow the flow of the yellow highlighted area.
And the yellow highlighted areas do pose more parking than on M Street. You know, if you added,
You mean on Merced Street here?
no, on M Street
On
where
M
they were
Street.
parking right there,
It's more parking.
north of Merced, there is more parking spots in the yellow than there was on M Street, right, Chief?
I believe,
Right there, through there,
yeah, there is hardly any obstacles on this side of the street where
But
they
you
were
couldn't
currently
get
parking.
15 trucks on that block there.
Probably not,
Yeah.
no. But but between all these spots, you'd probably
Right.
be able to do the 15.
Would anybody like to comment from the audience?
I have some.
You come up to the microphone, please.
I have the microphone.
Okay. Well, I know speak very much English, so you know this area there with the yellow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not too much light. You know there, and we have sometimes low. You know, easy to somebody stole something, and we is responsible for that. You know?
Right.
If we park in this area there, I don't know if we have a problem with some laws.
There is certain, well, there's a few street lights through there, but not a whole lot, I agree. When that's all redone, Cleve, will we be adding more street lights when?
Not in that area. I
Not
believe
that
there are streetlights on the corners, so which is the normal practice. There's a streetlight at Stanislaus, down at Inyo, and at Merced. And so I'm not sure. I haven't been down there to see if there's any mid-block or not.
There is one
I
on
don't believe there-
Stanislaus between M and L in the
Right.
middle of the block there.
Right.
Yeah.
Do we, one of the things obviously that would help remedy that is, I mean, I know that, you know, there's plenty of streetlights that are flicker on and off all the time or haven't been changed in a while. I mean, perhaps we could, you know, contact PG&E immediately and, you know, look at upgrading, you know, the wattage on those lights. I mean, that's a pretty simple solution there. It's not a lot of residential use over there, so it's not like we would have a 150 watt light in somebody's window for the most part. But, you know, that may be a solution, making sure that they go out and change those out and, you know, help for some additional lighting. Because if they're out there already, we might as well just put new lights out there.
Yeah, we can check it out at night if they're even working. There
Right.
might be
We can
one or
see if
two
that's
that-
an option, sure.
Right.
Yeah, check with PG&E.
That might help, because
Yeah.
some of the lights sometimes don't work. And if we can go out there and make sure that they have more wattage lights, then maybe that might help with the solution as far as being able to see out there.
Yeah, so we need now some solution because, you know, everybody looking for some, you know, we stay here, you know.
And we would
And,
want you to.
We
and sure.
can wait for, you know, for more time because we stay here and we need right now some place to designate to parking, you know.
But is that area though, that that the police chief is talking about, if lighting was not an issue, would that area be fine though?
What a
The yellow highlighted area.
If there was more lighting through the yellow areas, would that be sufficient for parking?
Because I mean, we all understand it's really dark out there, but if that wasn't an issue. On the L and M Street between Merced and Inyo?
this is South Merced or I'm confused.
South of Merced, yes.
Yeah, I think it's too quiet there. Not too many, you know.
Well,
You know.
you got to kind of meet us halfway. I mean, we're talking about accommodating more parking in our town, and of course, theft is something that we would all be concerned with. I would be concerned with parking my vehicle, but I think our police officers do a pretty good job of patrolling our town as well.
Yeah.
And so,
The main issue is lighting, is what you're saying.
Yeah, so you know the other area there with we as parking, I like it because you know more
lit up,
people cross
right.
there and you know more traffic, and you know the people can go stole something because sometimes cross you know in this area there is quiet. Nobody
Not too much
cross.
traffic in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
I
no
agree.
cross. Nobody cross.
F&A
there.
is working
So,
all night.
You know,
yeah.
maybe somebody look the police no coming and stole something. You know, we have sometimes expensive loads there or something
Sure.
in the
But
truck.
don't say that
I
too loud.
sometimes have trouble with I park in there. You know.
Don't tell us what you're hauling. No, I agree. We'll get right on that lighting deal and make sure all the street lights are working, you know, and lenses are good and everything. And maybe we can even get the chief to make a round or two there during the night, you know, middle of the night when there's some trucks parked there.
I like the
Officers.
idea, Mr. Mayor, of the extra patrols perhaps just in the industrial area, since we're gonna avail at the parking. I'm not gonna go out on a limb and talk about the lighting per se, because we've had some issues with having PG&E expedite things just on something that we feel is extremely important to the town for the industrial area specifically.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to commit to that specifically. We can ask that of PG&E. We do pay for services for electrical. Our electrical bills been quite high lately, but it's something that I wouldn't want to say a committal to, but definitely for this parking specifically. You would be parking there still like you would anywhere else on public access at your own risk. I want to just make that clear. But we can certainly take that as a suggestion.
Okay.
I think PG will come out and check our bulbs. I think that's a different division. That might be a little faster than our other
Let's hope so.
deal. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Just for clarification, we're not looking at Inyo then as an option?
Is that highlighted?
It's not. That's why, it's
No,
something I
I'm
interjected
looking,
after
I'm
that.
looking at what you specifically have highlighted, and I'm willing to
We're
move
talking
on.
about the alternative A, is what we're talking about.
Okay.
I guess, well, on Inu, on the north side by the flange, there is lights there, isn't there?
There is.
Yeah, that would be, I would like to see that incorporated also.
Could you point that out again?
Yes. This section, right here, it'd be on the north side. That's where the Newman flange is. It's a street that's 49 feet in width. There's an actual sign right, or a street light right here. But on the south side is where we have some issues as far as
There's houses on the south
There's a
side. of-
business and the
Right.
houses
driveways,
as well.
and there's a business there. that needs
But
to
that
be-
north side would be good. There's lighting there.
We could probably do about 4 trucks
Yeah.
on
And
And
that-
you said it
that
would
would
go
be
about
a-
49 feet east-west?
No, that's 49 from curb to curb. That's
Okay.
the width
North
of the
and
road.
south.
It's
Oh,
49
okay.
feet.
And
We-
that, there is houses through there, so that would be a safe spot there.
And you also have the F&A, which has change of shifts, and they also, we have a lot of loads going through there.
Well, then my question would be, will we anticipate anyone having a problem with that live in the houses or F&A dairy? Because they're 365 days a year with trucks coming in and out. Would it present a problem where it's wide enough? is what
That'd
we're-
be on the next block to the west. I don't.
Yeah,
think
it is.
would be.
And one of the things, even on M Street, we hadn't had the issue of the noise. That wasn't really what brought it to the department's attention. So we hadn't had complaints from them on M Street. We did have one individual talking about litter, but that was the only thing that was brought up. Nothing about noise. We haven't had any refrigerated vans. That's usually the ones that cause the noise issue to come up. Is when those things are running constantly when people are trying to sleep. So.
Any other questions from Mike?
Yeah, that was something that came up after I'd submitted my report, so that's why it's not part of the alternate A.
How many more signs would you need?
I'm anticipating probably about 3 no truck parking signs on the other side, and then 6 to actually open up these areas right here. So there would be, to do it before, probably here, and then maybe one even over here, so it'd be 5 to 6 signs. Plus, I'm anticipating another 3 over here, so that's total about 9, about less than $1,000, probably about $100, which is a full sign and a install it.
Just the only thing I would emphasize as well is on that PG&E thing, if we could contact them tomorrow and tell them we need them out there immediately to take a look at that. That way, because this is the 4th time we brought this back in the last few years, and it'd be nice to maybe put this issue to rest.
I think this is a good option. I also think that it also has for the growth with the L Street extension in the future. So,
I think it's a good plan. Thank you, Chief.
thank you.
And I also want to thank the police chief as well. This just came back to us at the last meeting, and you know, you went back, you looked into what we had done in the past, and you know, you were in contact with these folks out here, and I just want to commend you in front of everybody to let you know that we really appreciate your promptness on this issue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This looks to be an action item since you're asking for a stip in here, correct?
Yes, we need some direction.
And up to $1,000, you said, Chief, with the additional 3 signs. In other words, you can keep this budgeted $1,000 or less.
I believe so.
In your proposal, you had 603 additional.
Actually,
signs.
this is Ernie's budget, but
No,
Fill it
that's
in,
why he's so
Farmer.
willing.
I'm very generous with his budget, yes. But actually, those are the numbers that he had actually given to me, so.
Okay, well, just so that we're gaining understanding, Mr. Mayor, you're suggesting that we go under Plan A, and in addition add that, is it the south side of Inyo?
It'd be the
Or
the
north side?
north side of Venue, south of the flange on Inyo Avenue there, that one block.
It would be, yeah, it would be but the posting of the signs would actually be on the south side, because that would be for the no truck
Be
parking.
no
on that.
parking on the
And
south
it's
side.
Right.
okay for him to park on the north side
Right.
for that area.
Mhm.
Okay.
Would you like to make that in a motion, Tim?
Yeah, I move that we authorize the posting of established truck routes for the L and M streets between Merced and Inyo streets and Stanislaus streets between L and M, incorporating Inyo Street, south of the flange, no parking on the south, parking on the north.
We have a
That-
second?
That fit it all?
Is that?
I understood completely.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Item C, authorize city manager to enter into an agreement with Acme Electric for electrical improvements to the youth center.
Good evening, gentlemen. What we have here are 3 proposals for electrical work that we will need to do to the teen center, which was the preschool, now that they've moved out, in order to convert it and get our projects going, as far as being able to have electrical outlets in there, as well as we have 4, what we'll make into offices. One will be turned into a computer lab, which will be able to offer computer programs and have internet access for the youth to come into the teen center and use. One would be also turned into the recreation office that the recreation department would work out of. And then another, one of the closets would be turned into a office for Officer Lemus to work out of, as kind of in conjunction with the high school and that, for kids to come in and talk, and if they need a counselor or anything like that. So, what you have are the proposals from Acme. So Rivera Electric hadn't submitted their proposal at the time. They did come in lower than Acme Electric, though.
Where's that proposal?
She's happy to.
It's the one I gave to you
Give
before the
it- okay.
meeting started, which they came in at 4,900.
Tim?
Yeah.
So we had up to the meeting
We
date
had,
time to submit an application.
right, because
I mean,
he
a
was out of
contract.
town,
Okay.
so, and
Well,
he
did
was,
we have a deadline posted before?
We did not.
We did
and
not have
therefore,
a-
we were allowing up to the time of the meeting, basically. So,
So then staff's recommendation is to go with Rivera Electric then? Cleve?
Yeah, we still have a couple of questions on Rivera Electric because we just did receive that today. But what we would like to do is get authorization to proceed with the project. We will go with Rivera Electric. We are comfortable with Acme Electric. We worked with them before and we're comfortable with the products. In fact, they did the lighting in City Hall and it's worked out very well for us. As long as Rivera Electric is like equipment and we are comfortable with what they're proposing, we will go with Rivera Electric. We would like to ask the council for the option, if the cost increases of Rivera Electric to get like equipment that we're comfortable with, still reserve the option to go back to Acme Electric if that is the case.
You know, just one quick question on this, and
Yes.
that's fine if we do that, but I know this proposal is real brief here. And just as a quick question, I noticed on the Acme Electric bid that the existing panel, we were gonna continue to use that. I mean, how old is that panel?
It was upgraded, as you recall. We added heating and air conditioning units to the building, and we also added the addition of the restrooms. And that panel was upgraded. These contractors have reviewed the panel, and it is adequate to handle this power.
And then on the with the proposal here, I know on the staff report it had said the bid for $1,200 for all the rooms for the ceiling and the insulation, and we hadn't received a proposal yet. On the Rivera Electric one that we're going to go with on part of the work, what about this last part?
The actual T-bar ceiling was through Acme Electric.
Okay.
So we got a
And
complete,
they submitted it on their proposal.
So we're
On
going to
another
do
proposal that
so
you
we're going to do
submitted
the T-bar and insulation with Acme, and we're going to do the other work with Rivera. Is that what we're saying?
Well, we're not sure that Acme will do the T-bar without getting the
Without
electrical,
getting
so
the
we may end
electrical.
up finding a new contractor for the T-bar seating, and we have a couple of contacts on that already.
Okay.
But our proposal is to get the T-bar done for the $1,200 or less, perhaps, with a couple of other contractors that we're talking to, and then be able to do the electrical either with Acme or Rivera Electric if Rivera's bid is comparable to what Acme has submitted.
let me ask this question of staff. Acme, with this proposal that we have before us that was done in a timely basis and not at the 9th hour, is prepared, ready to move forward. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Exactly.
And
And I will
are,
state,
are you ready to move forward?
Yes, sir, we
Yes.
are.
Well,
and
then-
I would say that we are comfortable with the Acme, but because this one, it is a local contractor who came in today, we felt we had to present the information to council tonight.
And as much
so.
as I'm very appreciative of that, because I'm very familiar with Rivera Electric and our streetscaping,
Sure.
which was contracted out locally. I just have a bit of a problem with the last minute 9th hour not being ready to go. And what I'm seeing before me is a proposal inclusive of the ceiling repairs ready to go. And if you're ready to go, then that would be my suggestion to my colleagues, that let's move forward with this item so that it's not stagnated waiting for things to come back to see whether or not it fits this expenditure. That would be my suggestion, because I look at this and it's dated, the other day, and we just got it tonight.
When we bid this out, though, did we bid it as one complete project with everything, including?
We did not include the T-bar ceiling.
Okay.
That was
Okay.
something
That
that
was-
we were not anticipating and came back during the bidding process.
So we
with
didn't
one
bid it
company.
like that?
No.
Okay.
All we asked for was the electrical.
So
Okay, well,
basically, we're
then that's
talking.
on us.
Go ahead, Charles.
No, I was just gonna say, well then, if, I see what Tim's saying here, but, I mean, you can't hold somebody to a bid, or, I mean, that was one of my concerns, I'll be honest with you. When I first seen this, I kinda looked at it as an incomplete proposal, but if we didn't bid it that way, then obviously I'm not gonna hold that against somebody.
Basically,
We didn't bid
we're
it that way.
talking, $430 here difference
Mhm.
right now.
Right.
Whatever's the council's pleasure.
Let me ask this: is this electrical amount that I'm looking at is separate? So I'm looking at 5320 plus 1200, which would be 6520.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
6520, correct, but would be
Correct.
the total cost.
And on Rivera Electric, I'm looking at $4,900 only for the electrical, and at E&M Electric, I'm looking at $6,000 those two are just electrical only.
Correct.
Right.
But on the, Tim, on
So either
Acme,
one of Rivera or E&M would have to have the T-bar ceiling added to it, so assuming the $1,200 to those.
So basically, all things being equal, we're looking at either a $7,200 bid, a $6,520 bid, or a
We don't-
$6,100.
$6,100.
Of course, all things being equal, we
Sure.
don't know that.
Because as of going through the walkthrough with all three electrical companies, when we went through, when Acme Electric came in, and we walked through what is now the closets, which would be offices, it was his recommendation too, that a T-bar ceiling would work better to give us access with the computer rooms, and that if we wanted to tie in heating and air conditioning systems, is basically why when he submitted his proposal, he submitted that with it as well. Going through with him, he just seemed to do a little bit more thorough job. They were all three given the same exact information and the same plans and done the same walkthrough. So, you know, that is basically why it's in with his proposal, is that, you know, he was recommending a T-bar ceiling would be a benefit to the center to do it all at one time, and that way it could be in conjunction with the electrical.
while the work was being done.
Exactly.
So basically, what it comes down to, we're not sure if Rivera or E&M can even do the ceiling themselves. We're not
We
sure.
would probably not ask them. Well, we could
We would-
check with them, but we would probably find a new
Right.
contractor to do the T-bar ceiling. If
After
we go
talking
with
to
either one of
Rivera
them.
today, he doesn't have the capability, no, we would
Okay.
have to go out and get someone else to come in and do the T-bar ceiling.
Then on that, going back to what Tim's saying, what's our time frame? Because again, I mean, I see what he's saying. I mean, I wouldn't mind doing a not to exceed amount on this second part with, let's say, Rivera Electric, because they are the lower bid. But what I as well don't want to see happen is us doing some work and then we go bid something back out, and then we've got to go through that process. And, if we're going to do this, I want to see us do it once. and not
I
have to
appreciate
come back a
you
second
agreeing
time.
with me, Charles. I don't want to piecemeal this either, and I have a complete package before me with a bid, and staff is ready to move. I would move that we authorize the city manager, as the staff report says, to enter the agreement with Acme Electric for the electrical improvements, which would be inclusive of the ceiling repairs.
Right. We would like to get this program up and running as soon as possible with baseball season coming, as well as the pool opening. There will be a lot of activity around that building, and it would be to a benefit to the program to have it open, that we could work it in conjunction with our other programs that are going to be going on over the summer. So the sooner that we can get this opened and set up and established, it'll be a benefit to the community.
Was that a motion?
My motion's on the floor.
Bob, what'd you think, Bob?
Well, if all things being equal, and Jamie bid what he thought was the complete quote, I mean, I just question the fact that he's being penalized because he didn't bid on the ceiling repair.
But Kathy just said that he can't do that, right? I just said,
Well,
Kathy, he wouldn't.
Right, we
I
would
know,
have
but we're
to,
talking two separate bids then. We're talking a bid for the electrical, and we're talking a bid for the ceiling repair, although he included it on his quote. So I don't know what the original quote was, Kathy. Was it for the electrical?
the original, what we had brought them all for in was for doing the electrical. And then after going through with the electrical walkthrough, Acme came back and said that they had someone that could come in and do the ceilings, and that it could be all done at one time and the whole project would be completed.
And the
Yeah,
other-
see, the one option, council, is that we don't have to go
With
even
the T-bar
with the
ceiling.
T-bar ceiling. But as we looked at it and reviewed it, and some recommendations from the contractors, and reviewed it with our public works staff, we realized that it's probably a good idea to do that. We can put the T-bar ceiling in for a reasonable amount, get it finished the way it should be. It will match the main open area. Plus, it will allow us to put insulation up in there, which will hopefully somewhat eliminate the need for having heating and air conditioning in those rooms, because we can't leave the doors open, pretty much all the time in those. And so we can eliminate the cost of putting heating and air conditioning into those smaller rooms.
I'm sure the
But-
lighting will be better too with that ceiling in there, naturally.
Yeah,
Right. I
Bring
mean,
it- bring it
regardless,
down.
the
Yeah.
ceilings, something will have to be done with the ceilings. They're either, the tiles are falling in, or they're completely missing tiles, and that there's no insulation in the offices at all. So regardless, something's gonna have to be done with the ceilings, whether it's a T-bar ceiling or we go back in and just replace ceiling, redo ceiling tiles. The thing with just doing the ceiling tiles is that basically that is the roof of the building is right there.
When did we say the completion date was, for example, on this, let's say with Acme Electric, if we decide to go with them? What kind of completion date are we looking at?
They haven't given us a time frame yet, but based on our experience with them, I think that they would move within 2 weeks to have it hopefully done, depending on if they can get the lights in that time.
With approval this evening, 2 weeks it can be done.
Correct.
2 weeks to a month.
I'm going to second the motion just because we have waited a long time. We've been talking about this youth center for a long time. And I just want to see us complete this project. So I will second that motion.
We have a motion on the floor. All in favor? Say aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
Motion passes 3-1.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Captain.
Thank you, Kathy.
Item D, approval of West Side Stingray swim team use of the Newman plunge. Kathy?
I get to do it again. What we have here is the proposal went in front of the Parks and Recreation Commission. They did agree for the use of the pool, but it was their recommendation that it come to council as far as expense-wise as to what the responsibility of the Stingrays would be. Last year, we did have a contract with them where they paid 40% of the heating cost because it was in conjunction with the Orstema High School was using the pool as well for their heaters. The thing we run into is that none of the programs that the city sponsors or that the recreation department runs, we don't need the heaters. Our programs do not start until June. So it's, the Recreation Commission would like the council to make a decision as far as what expenses you feel.
And the school's not going to be using it
The
this
school
year?
will not be using the pool at all this year. And basically, our program will not start until the end of May as far as being open to the public. And our swim lessons will not start until June.
Just a couple of things, Kathy. Can you tell the council approximately what the total cost, including utilities and perhaps chlorine for the pool would be if it were running for a full month?
If it's running, included in your packet was a monthly breakdown of utility costs, and you can see it considerably goes up. In the month of March, which was basically the bill for February that was paid, it was $2,400. All the way when you go into June, which was basically May's bill, which was $2,900. Because you need to subtract out, there were some repairs done to the pool. If you look at PG&E and the as far as gas and electric, gas in April was $899, and the electrical was $736.29.
Yeah. Kathy, if you recall, there is a little bit of an anomaly with the March bill by the fact that PG&E was unable to gain access to the meter for 3 months. So that was a 3-month bill in there. So that I think you can pretty safely assume that the cost is somewhere around $1,200 to $1,500 looking at the May and April bills per month for the servicing of the pool. So I think the March bill is a little bit high.
So basically, we're talking 2 months, 1 month. Until the city uses it. 2 months?
2 months.
May, 1st of May.
Mhm.
So we're talking.
April and May, because basically the heaters, they were using the heaters pretty much through May. I mean, we have them regulated where they kick on, that the pool temperature goes below 78 degrees, and then the heaters would kick on.
So we're almost into
We're in the beginning
April.
of
So
April.
we're talking a month and we're talking 5, 6
Month and a
weeks.
half, roughly.
But our weather is warming up. We're supposed to have maybe near 80 by this weekend. I'm looking at this cost. It's looking a little prohibitive. I'm wondering, since we purchased those heaters, and I recall us debating that $15,000 expenditure, it's cost us way more in PG&E and gas use than I would have ever imagined. I see $10,000. I calculated from March of 2002 through November, an expenditure of $10,000, which that's not just the
and last year though the school and the Stingrays did participate
How much money
in
did we
paying
get
that.
back out of the 10,000? So how much did we
I'm-
subsidize?
I couldn't tell you for sure. They were paying the full amount during the months
school
of,
was?
I believe, April and May.
And they were using,
Now, I believe there are a couple of representatives from the Stingrays here that can also speak to you, but I believe there is still one outstanding bill that we're waiting to get from them that they have agreed that they still owe us. But other than that, for the months of April and May, I think we pretty much collected that, what is it, $2,800 from them.
Well, let me ask this question then, because I see where the price of gas and PG&E through the month of June through November, why was that so high? If in fact now we're in the summertime.
See, the bill for June is actually for the month of
For the
May.
month of May.
For the
Right,
previous
right.
month, correct.
And the bill for July is the
Is
previous
for
month,
June,
Right.
yes.
which
And
was
you can
$1,100.
Yes, but
Right.
if you look at the gas amount, it's gone down
The
to
gas has gone
$10.50 at
down,
that
but-
point.
Right.
We're
The-
still running the pumps, the
Right.
city is then using the pool, and we are
That's
taking
part of our
responsibility
program.
for that at that point. We're using it, for our open swim program and for our swim lessons and other things at that time, so.
so electric's gonna pretty much be the same. The gas naturally
The
will be
gas will
nil
go-
because we're not using the heaters.
Right, and the electrical does have a tendency to go up because we are back washing and vacuuming the pool more because it is being used more. Right now, basically, the winter covers are on and it's shut down, so there's no vacuuming. So once
for
the summer,
Basic circulation.
right, basic
Wintertime.
circulation. Once we open to the public and that, we are vacuuming, back washing more, which the pumps are working harder. It does require more electricity at that time.
I like this program. It gives kids an alternative. We have the skateboard park. I saw about 10 or 12 skaters. There was no one there when I drove past it initially, but I saw about 10 or 12 of them at Merced and 33 heading down. I don't want to deter the program necessarily. Did you know we spent $300,000 on that pool since 1992 for a 10-year period? That's a whole lot of money. I'm wondering when we might be able to do something that will really be an improvement. How can the Stingrays meet us? The $190 is what they're saying that they would be able to donate to our electrical. I saw that in a report, and that was part of the
No,
fees. I
well,
guess they
part
charge
of-
kids $5.
Basically, that's what the Stingrays have paid for using the pool, is they do a $5 fee for each out-of-town
Right, our
swimmer.
kids here from Newman don't pay.
Right, we don't charge them anything. And basically, in the past, that's been the only expense that has been put on to them, other than last year, when they did come in and pay 40% of the cost
Yes.
for the heaters and that.
Would anybody from the Stingrays like to comment? Or? Thank you, Kathy.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name's Kelly Corona. I'm the president of the Westside Stingray Swim Team. And first of all, I want to just let you know that the program is a very good program. We not only have lots of swimmers from Newman, but we also service Patterson and Gustine, Crows Landing, Stevenson area. The reason why we're nonprofit, we charge $185 registration for each kid. We had 74 kids last year. The money that we do that because all the kids are so fundraised out from other school activities, from everything that they're in, they fundraise. So we have decided that and instead of doing fundraisers to help, because everybody's so burnt out on it, we would charge $185 per child. We do pay 3 coaches. We have a head coach and 2 assistant coaches. They're the only ones that get paid. And then the rest of the money goes towards, we have 2 home meets that we put on. We have to charge for awards. We had to purchase the ribbons and so forth. So we do balance out. We ended up with $250 last year at our ending balance. So we don't make no money. We use the money that we do get. We do appreciate to have the heaters in April, and we're only asking for April and May. We are willing to pay the gas bill for April and May. for what we use of it. We know that the heater has to be on and the electricity, the pumps do run pretty much all the time. So we would just like to be able to find some relief of some sort for that, because we don't really have the money to pay the full amount of the electric and gas bill.
Questions for Kelly?
Is this letter that we have, was that written by you? There's a letter in here from the West Side Stingray Sweetie.
Yes, it was.
I was wondering who. Nice to meet you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it from a cost basis, but not strictly that. I know the kids need to be warm when they're out there swimming. I'd hate for them to be freezing. Do you think that we might be able to limit the use of the heaters, however, because some of these cost factors, I couldn't even see how you guys could begin to afford to pay when we looked at a bill last April of $900. And so I'm looking for ways for us to be able to meet you halfway, but I don't think those heaters are really going to be able to run in the capacity that you're used to. Maybe we can make the water a little lukewarm rather than warm.
Well, our bill for last year for the May bill that we received, we paid 40% electricity, 40% of the gas.
Okay.
And 40% electricity was $452.
Okay.
The gas was $60. That was for May of 2002. I'm not for sure. It would have been for the whole month of May because we didn't get in the water in April last year. So that
Okay.
was for May. And them figures seem to be, would be fine. We don't know, 40% would be awfully steep for, because we wouldn't be able to, we don't know the actual cost of what's going to be the heaters for, you have to heat the pool for how long to maintain that temperature. I don't know.
Depends on the weather and. a lot of
Correct.
factors.
And in May, we may not even have to use them too much because of the cover. Try and keep the heat in. We could turn it down further. We're basically looking, April is going to be the biggest month for us. And the only reason that is going to be because our swim meets start now the first one is going to be at the end of May. It's going to be on the 31st. Usually they start after the first week in June, the second weekend in June, but they've kicked it back. So, we only go in May, then we only have 3 weeks to practice before the first swim meet. And so that's why we're really looking for April and to try and get some type of relief for
And
April.
I see that. In your report, you tell your team would have the difficulty of paying the $500 a month, and we can understand that.
Yeah.
Maybe if we could somehow mitigate the cost by limiting the heaters, what if we were able to give you a 1 month use, since we won't know what the weather will be like and what the cost will be like. That'll give you 4 weeks of usage for practice before the meet, and hope that the sun comes out more and the weather warms up the water naturally.
And
I'm just
then
looking
would
for
that be, what percentage of the bill for them for May? Would you be willing to negotiate with?
Well, it's just not me. You're saying you want to reduce the 40 percentile range. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, the bill,
How
the
much
whole
could you guys,
total
How
bill.
much could you guys afford to pay? I guess would be
We
part
can
of the
afford to
question.
pay the $500.
You
We
could?
would be able to afford it. We want to pay our share. We don't want a handout. We want to be able to pay some of our share. We would be able to pay the $500, and if that would be recommended by you guys, that would be great. And then obviously, we would like to continue the relationship for next year and the following year. So
Absolutely. 20 years, another 20 years.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing that I look at when I was looking at the letter that Kelly wrote. This program's been in existence for over 20 years. There's a lot of local kids from here. There's a lot of, kids from the neighboring communities. And, we spend a lot of money on recreational type activities in our community. And not every kid in our community is going to play Little League or basketball or some of the soccer or some of those other ones. There's going to be kids that swim. And I certainly think that, we should continue our working relationship with them and participate in any way that we can to let them continue their program. I'd hate to see them get into the water, like they were saying, in the frigid waters of the pool, because they're representing our area and we want them to do well in competition.
Just
And,
one more, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
We are reaching out to the community for help. We did go to Patterson to ask them to please help with us because some of their kids do come over here, and we were declined. Gustine has offered, of course, we could use their pool when in confliction with the swim lessons and stuff. They are going to allow us, to use their pool that we want, and we don't have to pay at any fees.
their pool
So,
heated?
I'm sorry.
Their pool nice and warm?
No, but that's not till June. So, so we
okay.
won't really have to worry.
There's advantage. Okay.
I have been. We have gotten a little bit of support from some of the local. The local Knights of Columbus have given us a $100 donation to help with us. I've went to them, and we're going to everybody else to try and help because we really appreciate the heaters. It really helps, and we would like to continue using them.
Bob, have any comments?
No, these are excellent programs, and I'd like to see them continued. And I know that they're costly, but we should help them any way we can. That's my opinion. So you're saying you could pay how much? $500 is what you're saying?
$500.
Okay.
And Kelly, you're saying the Patterson Council turned you down, huh?
They declined our request for a meeting.
We'll remember that.
I would say thank you, Kelly, very much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate the effort that the Stingray team is making, particularly with the amount of funds they're going to be able to help out with. I would ask staff, and I would ask the Recs Department director, can we afford it? I mean,
Well, you brought up the figures, Timothy. That
yeah, you provided them.
it's been $300,000, since
Right.
what 1991, two or
92,
something.
yeah, you provided me with them.
Another
There's no
$1,000,
doubt
right?
that a swimming pool is a drain on the budget. There's no way you're going to
Is
ever
that a
make
pun?
money on it. But so it's really, my only thing is, to emphasize to the council, the potential for hard times coming upon us because of the state budget crisis and other things. We do know that this year it appears that we've been spared until the end of this year. But I just, as a word of caution, and I don't think I need to do that, but as a word of caution to council, that we do expect that funding is going to be tight for the next couple of years at least, and maybe several years. And so it's just staff wanted to let you know that. We're not saying one way or the other, but just a caution.
Right. And I think that obviously the time has come already. I mean, I think we're going to look at every single program and every single bit of expenditure that comes before us, and make our decision based on that. But we're still going to have to, we still have to provide some services, and we still are going to have certain programs for our community, and we just need to make sure that we continue to look at every program. But having said that, this here is been around for a long time, and I think we should continue it, and I think we should do what we can, like Bob says.
Would you like to make a motion, Charles?
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out
Let me
the
ask
dollar
another
amount. Go ahead.
Let me ask another question of Kathy.
Yes, sir.
Are our kids from Newman that aren't charged the $5 fee, are they the majority? I
No.
saw the numbers here, and I
I
couldn't
don't
really
know
figure
what
that
their
out.
signups is for this year. In the past, like 1/3 of it we had figured out at the Parks and Rec meeting were from Patterson. I don't have a current list as far as signups of kids who are from Newman that are using the program.
If you look, there is a page in the
There
report.
is a
I saw
page
that,
that-
but I couldn't
That
really.
was from last year.
Right.
There is a total at the very end of that report, Timothy, that shows
Right.
23 Patterson, 22 Newman, 13 Gustine, 1 Crow's Landing, and 1 Stevenson.
And the reason why I asked that, I mean, Kelly herself just told us the information from our neighbors, and as much as we're supportive of the program, we are facilitating kids from our neighboring jurisdictional towns. I can see us supporting it through the 1 month, particularly with the Stingrays being able to come up with the $500 sum. In other words, get the pool warm. We're fastly approaching April, and let's hope for a warmer spring, summer during May. That is my suggestion to my colleagues, that we support it through that 1 month. I'm open for any other suggestions.
So just clarification, you're saying to heat the pool during April
Yes.
and then turn them off during
Turn
the
them
month
off
of May?
and,
Yes, because I can see where, with fluctuations with the PG&E costs, I mean, this
Right.
bill
We
is
don't know what the
astronomical is what I'm looking at.
bills would be. And the city does absorb the cost of the chlorine in that, which the more the pool is being used, we do the chlorine, and as well as the maintenance and any other chemicals or repairs that are needed there. The city has been absorbing those costs as just part of the pool upkeep and maintenance.
And that cost came to a tune of, $17,000 last year, roughly. That's with maintenance. It's pretty expensive.
Is that a motion, Tim, or?
I move, sure, my colleague here was gonna make the motion. I don't wanna
Well,
intrude.
the bottom line is they've said what they could help us with. And, we've seen what the bills are in the past. And the only thing that I would request is that, that they work with us. I mean, that these heaters aren't on excessively,
Well,
They're automatic.
They're
They're set at
automatic. They're
78
basically set at a
degrees, and they
thermostat,
come
and
on
they
and off when
continually run on and off
right.
you can't really turn them on and off. Once they're turned on, they have to continually keep running to maintain that temperature in the pool. So it's not something that, we can.
That could be set though, right?
Yeah, another
it
option
is-
is to actually turn that a little bit lower than 78
Right,
degrees.
that's
Right.
what I think. I think that would be
Because
appropriate.
78, I mean,
But even at 78, there were complaints last year that the water was cold
Well,
at
we're
78
talking,
degrees.
we're talking about being able to provide it warm,
Right.
warmer than what it
Right.
would be by natural causes.
because normally,
Right.
what is it? Normally, it's really super cold.
I haven't checked the temperature lately with the
60.
covers on.
Probably,
It's,
60.
55.
yeah.
First got in, it was 55. It's cold.
Ooh.
And we're only in there for 3 hours. We use the pool, we requested 3 hours for April and May, and then, they're gonna.
They want to do,
accommodate us
yeah,
in-
3 hours in the morning and in the evening as well.
Right. Well,
But it's not worth it to
But
turn
you-
them
you
off
can't
and
turn
have
them
it
on and
cool
off.
down
They
and
would
then
have
heat
to
back up.
continually
It's
run.
It's cheaper to let them just run and keep that temperature up. See, it's gonna be very costly the first month, when we first start them up, to get that temperature from the 55 up to the 78. That's gonna be an extra cost that we'll experience right in
I'd
the
like to
beginning.
see that moderated down
So,
from the 78.
but
And
once
is-
you get it up there, it will,
It will
you know,
maintain.
Is our staff responsible for setting the heaters, or are we allowing the stingrays?
no, we set them.
No,
You do set-
Yeah.
Public
That's what I
Works.
thought. I'd like to see.
so what was the amount that the high school was paying? They were paying 60%?
They were paying 60%, which I don't have a copy of, the bill that was sent to them. I want to say a portion of it was over $2,000. Their portion of the bill was, I believe, a little over 2,000, I want to say like $2,100, $2,200.
For the 2 months?
At least per month.
Per
Oh,
month.
oh.
That was the
They
60.
were really subsidizing us.
The high school paid most of it.
Right,
We were in most of it.
right.
Hmm.
So,
And we were in for 2 months before they had gone in. So we paid the full amount those months, and then the partial amount the 1 month we were in together.
Then what I would recommend, because those costs are pretty high,
right.
I mean,
Because if you look
if
at the,
there's some way that, because we could all sit here and ask a bunch of questions. There's still
right,
questions as far as, other things with the, with setting the time or the temperature and everything else. Would it be too much if we brought this back in 2 weeks with a little bit more information? Because believe me, I certainly want to help this program out, and I think all of us want to.
Well, they've got to turn these heaters on. Aren't you going to turn them on for April?
they
I'll
were,
try.
they were asking to get in for April 1st, which is this coming
Next
week.
week.
We
Tuesday.
have not turned the heaters on as of yet
1
because
week.
we were waiting for a decision to be made. If you look at the statements, for 8 days in April, the Stingrays used the pool. 40% for the 8 days was $174.32. That was 8 days of use.
Mhm. I'm kind of at a loss.
Are you reluctant to make a motion, Charles? or-
Well, I just, you know, I want to help here, but I want to make sure that, you know, we've got a financial situation that we need to, you know, be conscious of as well.
Well, like Cleve said, we're in good shape this year. Next year, kids might have to be a little colder, but I think this year we should accommodate them.
Yeah.
Personal
One thing
opinion.
that I would recommend, though, looking at these totals on the page with the revenue coming in, even though it doesn't seem like a lot, but, you know, every dollar does count. It's, you know, we're getting zero from, based on last year's numbers, we're getting zero from the local kids, and, you know, I'm not sure if that's going to even be an option, but I mean, obviously we have to explore
Well, and the
everything.
$5 fee has been the same for, I believe, I looked back up since 1992. They've only been charged the $5 since 1992.
Mm-hmm.
So I know in Gustine in the past, they've had to pay for every person that was on the team to use the Gustine pool.
Can I say something?
Sure, Cal.
Please,
Please.
it's for the people at home.
I think the Stingrays would entertain the idea of paying for Newman residents to help curb the costs. They do, you know, like, I don't have the figures, but Cleve had them. 22, I believe, was from Newman last year. We're expecting more around the same amount. We usually have between 60 and 70 swimmers usually every year. So I think we would be able to entertain the idea of paying for the Newman swimmers. That'd be what, about $115 more if you charge the $5.
Mm-hmm.
The $5 fee. And that would help curb something, you know, to help do something. And like Kathy was saying, 8 days last year was $174. So for 4 weeks, that's going to be pretty much, you know, well, it's going to be what, $700 or something like that. So it all kind of works out in the wash. If we're able to pay the $500, which we would still be able to do, plus the $5 fee for the Newman residents, I think that's only, you know, fair. We do, if we pay for Newman residents, but it is the chlorine and stuff, we do have to use a little bit of that. So I would be able to do that.
That make you feel better, Charles?
It does. I mean, we all need to explore these options.
Well, for the sake of time, I'd like to move this along. If I may.
I would like to go along here with the motion that they put in $500 and that we look at picking up the additional costs for those 2 months. And obviously, we're going to look at this each additional year, but that's my motion, that we do that.
Do we have a second?
I would actually move to amend the motion that's on the floor, and I would stipulate that we do pick up the cost, but hold it to the 1 month.
That's going to make it cost
I want-
prohibitive, though, for them.
Oh, I want to second Charles's motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion passes 3-1.
Thank you.
Question,
Kelly.
Thank you.
question quickly for council. There was a request or discussion about charging $5 for the Newman residents. Is that considered in there at all, or was that taken off?
Well, we'd like to include that, yes.
Yeah, I think that was in there.
That was part of the
Yeah.
motion? Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number E, approved date for volunteer cleanup day in conjunction with April 22nd Earth Day and authorized expenditure of up to $750 from the business license surcharge fund. Cleve?
Mayor and council, what we would like to do is, once again, and this is something that we should be doing 2 times a year. We did not do it last fall after some discussion, but we would like to get approval to go ahead and have another volunteer day to improve our planters downtown. We are discussing a little bit, possibly, depending if we get enough volunteers, doing some other projects, possibly in some of our parks. We'll take a look at that. The main project, though, would be to do the planters and the tree wells downtown. You have some cost estimates of what we would like we're anticipating this would cost us. Replacement plants, the main plants, which are the flax plants, there's 4 missing in the planters, which are the large flax plants. In addition, each tree well is supposed to have 3 smaller flax plants in it, and there are 55 of those that are missing in the tree wells. We would like to replace those. In addition, in the past, we have had gazanias planted in both the tree wells and the planter pots. They have done very well in the planter pots. However, in the tree wells, some of those have not taken hold as well as we thought they would, and so we would like to add some of those gazanias in the tree wells to get those to take hold and improve the looks in the tree wells. And then finally, we're looking at some funding to purchase some annuals that we will add to both the tree wells and the planter pots to add some additional spring color. Again, those are annuals, so those will last through the spring and then be gone. It's anticipated that in the future that this cost for twice a year will probably be should be under $1,000 a year, looking at something like maybe less than $500 for each planting. So this won't be a significant cost, especially as these permanent plants take better hold in the planters and fill in. As you notice in the planter pots currently, they've filled in pretty well. Most of those are starting to look pretty well. The only cost we may have in the future may be for some flats of annuals to add some spring and fall color to the areas. With that, as I've mentioned here, I've been talking to Susan Mattis, and she is willing to help us organize the volunteer day and get that going. It works well in April, since it is April 22nd is Earth Day, and it would be nice to do something like this in conjunction with that. Unfortunately, the 22nd, I believe that is a Tuesday, is that right, in April? Yeah. I looked at the calendar before I came. And the weekend before that is Easter weekend. We didn't feel it would be good to have it that weekend. And therefore, we kind of wanted to get it done earlier than waiting clear till the end of the month, so we were looking at April 12th as the preferable day for this, unless the council desires a different date.
Questions for Cleve?
Just one quick question, Cleve. Maybe I'm reading this wrong. On the budget impact, it says it's going to come from the council promotions in the budget, and then on the top and on the second page it's going to come from the business license surcharge fund.
The business license surcharge fund is a fund, and part of that fund goes into the part of the funding for the council promotions is from the business license surcharge fund. Does that make sense? Okay. So yes, it's both.
Thank you, Cleve. Got some direction?
I move that we approve the date and volunteer for cleanup day in conjunction with April 22nd Earth Day, and authorize expenditure up to $750 from the business license surcharge fund.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Item F, consider request from Newman Chamber of Commerce to close Main Street parking lot and Main Street between Tulare and Fresno on April the 5th.
This is a pretty simple one, Council. They've just made this request for a street closure, and actually the chief of police has the authority to do the street closure. However, he doesn't have the authority to close the parking lot under ordinances, and so they are making that request. Tony has some other comments too. So.
I actually don't need the whole parking lot. I talked to a few of the merchants, and actually they would mostly prefer if it stayed partially opened for parking and, you know, to make it easier, especially the hardware store and stuff. So what we were actually hoping is that maybe we could block off like the first 4 parking spots of it, and just to give us some extra space there for people walking and to do some kids games and stuff like that.
People could still come in from the alley. And
right, exactly.
The thing you need to look at though is that those are one way, right? That will mess up the circulation. See what I'm saying? Because you go in and you turn around to the south end,
right,
and come around and come out.
So
the
if
north
we
end.
blocked maybe just up to the buildings, would that still work for them to drive?
Well, that circulation goes through that first part of the parking lot. Turns through there. What I might suggest, if you wanted to do something, there may be a way that perhaps you could close off some of the parking stalls next to the St. George and use some of those, and then still allow I don't know if there would be room, Chief, for that circulation to get through there or not and still provide the complete round circulation through there. It's hard to close it off, only a portion of that parking lot the way it's currently designed. But perhaps you could use next to the St. George and those parking stalls and still have room, put some sort of barricade though, obviously, for the public that would be in that area, and then have the circulation still go through, park on both sides of the middle and then on the north side.
Yeah, I believe we could probably end up doing that with barrier tape and delineators, and kind of have it where the traffic could actually see that.
I don't know if that works for you, Tony, but that
That'd be
might
an option.
that might be
Whatever's
one
most
option.
convenient. I just quite honestly, I mean, you know, this is something totally new for us trying.
Sure.
So, I mean, I want to make it easy for everybody, quite honestly. So if that would work, I mean, that would be, I'm just really happy with getting the street closed, quite honestly.
Okay.
So that's my
I could
plan.
do that.
Oh, well, there you go.
I think that would still work. They still come in from the alley and still make the loop
Right.
and go
That
right
would
back
be
out.
fine, because with the fire trucks too, if we do fire truck rides, they need access without kids running. My biggest worry was kids trying to kind of run around and play with cars coming, you know, flowing in and out of there in a quick manner. So, but with the fire trucks, they need room to be able to turn around anyway, so we would need to use the parking lot.
Have to let the council know this report has some incorrect parts on it. The cost and budget items were carried over from the previous report. Those are not actual cost estimates for this item. So, the cost items for this will be minimal, some posting of signs for the police department, some public works time to provide barricades to close the roads. So, the cost and budget impact are minimal on this.
Any more questions?
No, I'd just like to say thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope a lot of people come to town and spend their money, and all the residents come out of their home and make this an expenditure where they spend their money in our reinvested, renewed downtown. I like to see this. I'm
We do
glad you
too.
guys-
So, and I'd like to formally invite everyone on the council to come down and enjoy the day. Should be pretty fun.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
You want to
direction?
advertise this a little bit? I mean, you've written in here about the DJ playing music, kid games, face painting.
Yes, actually, we'll be, April 5th, we'll be doing the downtown, it'll be Downtown Newman Spring Celebration is kind of tentatively what the name of it is. And we'll have kids' games, face painting, hopefully fire truck rides, maybe a bounce house, a lot of things for kids to do. And a lot of merchants are participating with some great sales to make it fun for parents too. So come on down and have fun.
And you said it was between,
11 and 3.
okay,
Between Tulare and Fresno Streets on Main Street. So
thank you.
And the
Thank
Easter
you.
Bunny will be there.
Easter Bunny will be there to take pictures, yes, and kind of hopping around. It'll be good.
Thank
Thank you.
Tom.
Thank you.
Motion?
I move we adopt a request from the Newman Chamber of Commerce to close Main Street parking lot and Main Street between Tulare and Fresno on April 5th, 2003.
We have a second?
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Number G, adopt resolution number 2003, next to number, approving a month-to-month extension of the current franchise agreement with Comcast for cable television services.
Sounds good.
Cleve?
Mayor and council, I think we are making progress on this. Council members Martina and Fantasia have been involved, but there is still some work to be done. And the latest request from Comcast is that we approve the extension to on a month-to-month basis rather than a time certain. That is at the option of the council, and allow us to move forward. As I mentioned, we are making progress. I think that we're learning some things, and I think now we've made a proposal to Comcast, and I think we're getting down to more of the finite details and seeing where they're really going to be at as far as providing the service that we expect to have in Newman. And that's kind of been the result of the last few meetings that we've had. We've seen where this is going. So.
What have we proposed to them, just in general?
Well, in general terms, we're talking about the issue that we brought up, the complete upgrade of the system by December, the end of December 2004. We have also proposed in there that they install an iNet system, which basically would tie all of our city infrastructure and buildings together and allow us to monitor that from any point in the city. It's a system that many cities are going to now. All of the contracts that I've looked at include this iNet system in it. It's basically cable fibering that will connect all of our buildings, well sites. In addition, we've asked that they do the same thing for the school district so that all of the school sites would be tied together in the same manner. We've asked for provision in there. We don't believe that we are ready yet to look at public access, the public access channel for, say, Newman, Gustine, Patterson, but we want to have that option to look at in the future. So we propose that there be the option to go back and look at the contract prior to the end of the franchise agreement in order to look at them providing some of the cost to help set up a public access channel, public education and government channel anyway. And I think those are the main things. The other things are involved are looking at making sure that the level of service meets FCC standards and that they're providing good customer service. There's some discussion about the possibility of being a customer service center here in Newman, some sort of thing. Perhaps they talked about things like being able to provide the pickup and distribution of the cable boxes at a facility here, maybe not manned by Comcast, but maybe such as maybe at City Hall. Maybe we would distribute those so people that needed those, rather than having to go to Los Banos, could perhaps come to City Hall and they would pay a fee to have us hand those out and receive those. So some of those minimal services like that. So those are kind of the basics. John, anything else that you can add that we've been discussing?
I think that's about it. Just to fill everybody on the tests that were done in the houses, the ones that had a little bit of a problem, it turned out they were just minor things, wires, cables, older connections that weren't up to grade, and things changed. A lot of them haven't been looked at for 20 years. So those people those three houses that I don't know, Bob was happy, I guess. The three houses that did have problems, they're all, the services up to par.
You comfortable with how things have been progressing? I know
Yes.
you've been a big part of that.
Very much,
since we
very
had that
much.
one meeting.
Mhm.
My only question then, I guess, would be on a month-to-month basis.
Sure.
Would you bring this back to us under the consent calendar? It doesn't necessitate us going through this process every month, right?
Right. Basically what it means is this will continue from month to month until either side terminates it.
Oh, yeah. I think
So it
we're
doesn't
in
have to
agreement
come
is-
back until we're ready to terminate it and adopt the new agreement.
Or if for some reason you can't get agreement, then Cleve says, mayor says, look, we
Right.
can't agree with
We
them.
can't
We're
agree.
going to give them, this is the last month.
I think they were very receptive for the one meeting I was able to attend, and I know the mayor's working diligently with that.
Mhm.
Yeah, just to comment, I've never seen this much progress since I've lived here. That
You've been making those comments for a few years.
yeah, since we've been able to get someone's attention, and not only get their attention, that's been receptive to what we're trying to do. And of course, I think that there's more than just Newman involved in this, and I think that's made the difference. It's given us a little bit more clout, but I think we're headed in the right direction.
The only comment I had, I was watching the supervisor meeting, South Sioux County supervisor meeting the other night, and they got cut off for some reason. The meeting wasn't quite over with, and all of a sudden there was an infomercial on.
They have an issue that they've brought up in the fact that if they can only use one tape. So if their meeting goes longer than one tape,
and we're almost there
that's
now,
it.
too.
No, we have the same issue. If we go over 9 o'clock,
We have 6 minutes.
we can actually at times when we know that our meeting is going to longer, we set it at the slower speed so that we get up to 4 hours, Judy, on it, or 3?
We don't need to do that.
Anyway, we get longer than the
Yeah.
2 hours, but so we kind of anticipate usually when that is going to happen. We can handle it that way, but that's the reason why it was cut off.
Okay.
They provide 2 tapes to Comcast. However, Comcast, there's nobody around to put the other
Put
tape
the other
in when the time
slip
comes.
in
So they put one in, and that's it. When it's done, it's over.
Well, Mr. Mayor, with that, I move that we adopt resolution number 2003, next to number, approving a month-to-month extension of the current franchise agreement with Comcast for cable television services.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Item 12, items from the city manager.
I think I've provided most of my information to you. One item that I did want to bring up that I learned about last week is in talking with George Stillman of the county. PG&E and the county have now approved our alley undergrounding project for utilities. There are some things that we need to go through on our end that we will be bringing back to you in the near future. That means that all of the lines, I believe, I've got to get back with Ernie, he's been on vacation since this happened, but the lines in the alley west of Main Street and the alley east of Main Street are proposed to be underground. It'll be a nice project for us to have that done. The only caveat to that is all they do is underground the lines, and the responsibility for hooking up to the business is the business owner or the building owner. So there are some things that we are going to have to look at in either setting up a utility district to collect those costs, or there may be other option we have if the building owner is willing to pay for it. The third option may be to look at using some redevelopment loans to pay for that cost and collect over time from these building owners. We need to do some more research on that. We've got to get PG&E out here, find out what the potential cost is for those individual business owners, and then we'll bring that back to the council to look at various options to get that going. But PG&E has notified the county that they've approved the project, and the county has approved the project for us to have that done. So along with that, and having that done before we get to the plaza project and getting that done will be a nice project for us. And that's all I have, I think, tonight, unless there's any questions about any of the projects I've been updating the council on.
Questions?
Cleave?
Just real quick, would that mean you'd resurface the alleys?
It we would like to at some time if we can find the money to do it. How's that?
Thank you, Clay.
Thank you, Cleve. Item 13, items from city council members. Bob?
I have nothing tonight.
Charles?
Just one thing, have we sent a letter out or made any progress on, I'll wait till Cleve's. Have we sent any letters out or made any progress on the property on the north side of the highway next to the Exxon? The one
I'm working on that with Michael Holland. We haven't sent anything out yet, but we're working on something that we're going to do out there. So.
Okay. That's it.
Tim?
Just briefly, I wanted to inform you, if you recall, I mentioned the Great Valley Center Leadership Institute that I participated in. I just did a little briefing for all of my colleagues that was in Yosemite at the 10-year Lodge, February 26th through March the 2nd. And some of those topics were stepping forward. We met with each other, and these were leaders and council members and mayors all throughout, from far north as Reading, as far south as Bakersfield. And some of the topics included public and political management, exercising leadership and exercising authority, thinking ethically, working with the media. And one of the things that I got out of that was a coalition of council persons like ourselves, mayors and supervisors, that our interests are drawn together for the entire Great Valley. And this was put together by the Great Valley Center. And they had instructors there from the Kennedy School in Fresno, and these actual professors were from Connecticut, from Harvard's Government and Public Relations School. Very beneficial, and something I have more material on to share with my colleagues if they're interested. Secondly, I wanted to highlight a recent trip that I had to Washington, D.C., and I think part of the importance there, of course, is our homeland security and the current conflict that our country is in. I was fortunate enough to be briefed by our Senator Barbara Boxer, who spoke of some of that impact on our specific state. And if everyone's staying current with the news, we know that our president's just proposed a wartime effort budget of almost $75 billion. Certainly that will have some impact on our state. We've asked, as a coalition of cities throughout the nation, that any funds that are directed on the local level come directly to us and not through our state. We know we're dealing with the deficits here with our state. So we would like that money to come straight to our general fund and not be bypassed. That's some of the lobbying that we did. And just finally, I was able to meet with our congressional representative here in the 18th District, Dennis Cardoza, and he lent a very open ear to some of our concerns here, particularly with the flooding that we've had. I made mention of the flooding we've had from the Oris Denver Creek, which he's well aware of, and also some of our transportation infrastructure issues and getting funding through Stancock, which myself and our mayor sits on as the alternate. And I just wanted to share that. And also I wanted to say the Institute was free through the Great Valley Center, cost the city nothing. And I've yet to put in a half reimbursement for the trip from Washington. That hasn't cost the city yet either. Thank you, Mr.
Just
Mayor.
remember, nothing is free, Tim.
Freedom is not free. I visited that wall there, the Korean War. You're right. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Just a couple things this last week that you mentioned about the flood project. There was a couple meetings, one in Newman and one in Modesto, pertaining to the Orstema Dam project, still ongoing. The one here involved everybody along the creek, owners and a couple of the Stanislaus County reps. They were here. Then we went to Modesto for a meeting, and the Army Corps of Engineers were there, represented from Dennis Cardozo's office, and those talks are ongoing and things are moving along in that deal. So that's a good progress. It's a slow thing through the Army Corps, environmental impacts, dangerous species, all that stuff, but that's moving along. And just one other thing, I just want to invite everybody to the theater this Saturday. Stanislaus Arts Council's having their big award ceremony in Newman, and Dave and Ferris Larson are going to be honored for the achievement in theater, all the things they've done for the theater in Newman, and invite everybody to come out for that. That's all I had.
Just quickly, I forgot to, just a reminder, we do have our strategic planning workshop this Saturday from 9 to 1 here in this room.
Be here.
Okay.
Move that we adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion adjourned. With 3 minutes to spare before the tape ran out.
How do you know?
Huh?